No problem.
So,
We're only 2 minutes into it.
Right.
Geek talk.
Exactly.
You know?
So, how's the tour been going so far?
Actually, it's been going okay. I mean, we're about a week into it now. You know, started off in New York. We went to upstate. We did Connecticut. We went to Chicago, back to Ohio, and now to here. And it's been pretty good. I mean, we've had a decent set of crowds. You know, pretty intimate because it's a smaller, like, let's say, venue tour. It's not some huge venue, so it's, you know, all you people get the chance to meet us and Cataclysm and Pyrexia and Eternal Bleeding. We're all hanging out here waiting for you guys. Come and schmooze, you know?
Exactly. Now, you started off in New York, right?
Yeah, we started off at the Gramercy.
How was your New York shows? You guys being from Long Island?
Well, we always run into our share. I mean, us being from from Long Island and being from New York, we always get the support of our friends and our fans. But of course, everybody there has seen us 700 million times. So it's probably like any other band that, like, you know, like let's say a local band that's starting here over at Empire. You know, probably after 10 or 15 years, everybody in the scene has already seen them and knows them. So the shows aren't that great unless you come through with like a good tour package. You know what I mean?
Like this one, you
Exactly, like this one, which in turn made the Gramercy Theater a pretty good show. You know what I mean? It was a good way to kick off the beginning of the tour. I can't complain. I have to say thanks to all my friends and fans that came out, especially my family that came out.
Hell yeah.
And it was really a good time, man. The guys in Cataclysm, everybody's got their attitudes checked at the door. It's like, it's pretty, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Any bumps in the road got worked out in the first 2 days and it was all copacetic. There was like no negative vibes at all.
Yes, and that's what you don't want either.
That's like, you know, because you never know. You know, you can go on a tour and you don't know everybody and like, you know, people just have their opinions on the way that things should be. And on this one, everybody kind of had an idea on what they should do and like what we should do. And after the first two shows, it was just like, hey, Jungle Rod, take your gear home, just use ours. You know, like you guys are switching off drum kits, and it was like got all worked out to make it the best for everybody.
Hell yeah.
You know, which is cool. So I'm very fortunate to.
How have things been since, you know, your induction to the Long Island Hall of Fame?
Well, that was really a very cool thing for me, and I think for everybody that was a part of the band up until that point. You know, because we've changed members obviously again. It's always unfortunate, but you know, everybody can't get along all the time. You know, but we try to have that much patience to make sure that we're making the right decisions, and you know, even the last decisions weren't ours to make. The other people just left pretty much. So, you know, if you guys were wondering, that's pretty much what happened. But,
I understand. I guess I heard Dave had to take care of family stuff.
Yeah, Dave had a lot of family things, you know, going on between you know, the ex-wife, I guess, and you know, child custody and things of that nature, and it was just really weighing a lot on him. He needed to have the time back at home. He needed to be there for his kids.
Exactly.
And it was a crushing blow to me because basically he just up and stopped playing drums. It wasn't like he just quit playing the band. He like literally stopped playing drums. So to me, that was almost like a shot in the dark. You know what I mean? Because my first thought was after he had left the band, like we all were copacetic. We want the best for Dave. Still talk to him from time to time. He's down in like.
You gotta make sure your kids take care.
He's in North Carolina at the moment. He's doing really well. He's got his job. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Yeah. So more power to him. But yeah, the last time that like we literally seen him, he was just like, I have to go. You know, he's like, I have to do that. So. You know, it's always a setback when a band like us that has so much material, has to find somebody else that's going to fit the shoe and then get into the touring and do it in such a small span of time.
I don't know your new drummer's name. What is his name?
Oh, guys, you guys got to know. We got Kevin Talley. We got Kevin Talley. You guys should know Kevin. He's played in like a million other bands.
Yeah, I've heard of.
He's played in Chimera. He's played in Doft. He's played in all. He's got, you know, actually Kevin's like a big studio drummer as well. So you guitar players out there, if you need some help, you need some drum tracks, get in touch with Kevin Talley. He does that on most of his time when he's not with us.
Yes, all he had was it.
He's done over 2,000 separate recordings for different bands.
Yeah, see, when I looked him up, I saw I think it was like 15 different albums alone.
I mean, he's played in Dying Fetus. He's played in like tons of different bands. So for you underground people, Kevin's like pretty much the way to go. We had worked with him though before, like back in '98. We had worked with him, and we were having drummer problems back then, and Kevin came and filled in for us, so we were able to do a tour for, it was like 3 weeks or something.
So he's filling in, he's fitting in real well then.
Yeah. I mean, we've all known each other pretty much. I mean, Kevin's had a rapport with Derek. He's had a rapport with everybody else in the band.
Yeah.
At some way, shape, point in time. In fact, it was Frank's idea. He was like, call Kevin. It's a proven fact. He's already worked before. It was like, Kevin at the time was in 6 Feet Under, so I didn't know if Kevin was going to be available, but something happened with him and them, and he was just open. So he was like, awesome. Yeah, dude, I'd rather come jam with you guys. I had so much more fun. Right. So, and that's really what it's all about, is trying to, as we get older, you still got to have fun, stick to your craft, stick to your guns. But
it's like, really it's still a job, but at the same time, you still want to have fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You don't want the stress to become so overbearing, the business to be so overbearing that it actually jades the music and it jades, like, your creativity. And it just makes things, so much harder just to do what you enjoy to do.
Right.
Who the hell wants to turn this into a job,
Yeah, exactly.
Then it wouldn't even be worth it. It would just be like, why?
That's why I sold all my digital. Yeah. I went back to film because I lost that
gritty edge, right?
That joy out of it.
I understand. It's the same thing with, like, computer graphics now. It's like, you remember when the original Star Wars came out and it was all puppets, and it was like, really sick. Frank Oz and all them, they did an amazing job. But now you see it, and it's all digital, and you can just see how much faker it looks. It doesn't have that same real grit.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel. You don't get it captured as much.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like organic. You know what I mean?
What has been your favorite song to play so far on this tour that really gets the fans like ape shit?
Well, for me, I'm usually just going balls to the wall for everything. Right. So I always like. Well, there's a couple. I always like playing Thrones of Blood because that's just like an old town favorite. Everybody knows it. Same thing with Infecting the Crypts. So most of, almost every single set that we ever play, we usually close out with Infecting the Crypts because it's just one of those songs that everybody's known. It's been on Human Waste, which is like one of our earliest recordings. Probably one of the crappiest sounding recordings too, you guys. I'm sorry to say, it's true. I mean, Breeding and Spawn was pretty crappy, but I don't know, man. They run hand in hand to me. But those two songs are probably some of my favorites. I really do like the new material that we play a lot too. We've been playing My Demise off of the new set. I think that's a pretty fun song to play.
Right.
It's got a lot of different movements in it, which to me is more fun than just either going fast or really slow.
Yeah.
It goes through a bunch of different phases. To me, that's fun.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I noticed a lot about Pinnacle was your timing. Your time changes. Like, I've been listening to you guys since Pierce From Within, so I know how you sound.
Well, right, yeah. I mean,
and when I heard Pinnacle, I was, like, blown away just the way, like, I don't know how to describe it. You just took that extra, like, you guys were here, and then you just went, you personally went over here as a step.
Yeah.
Writing.
I mean, with writing, it's kind of like I had to, and it's really hard, honestly, for me to write because, like, any Suffocation fan that's been listening to us since the beginning or whatever, I always had, like, really good musicians that I was working with, like Doug Srito and so on and so forth. Doug Bones is on this tour, too, who played on the Pierce From Within album, the drummer. He's playing in Pyrexia, so, if you guys are listening to it and you happen to catch a show somewhere outside of town, come see us because he would probably love to see you guys, too. Basically, I just did a lot of pre-production work at home on the off time when I wasn't touring. And it makes it a little bit harder for me, as I was saying before, only because everybody's listened to us before. So, I don't want to keep rehashing the same old material and the same old riffs where it just becomes, the same old run-of-the-mill Suffocation. So it takes a lot more time.
Oh, yeah.
Now to be unique is where before it was like, the riffs that we were writing were unique in their own right. Now everybody's heard all of that,
Right.
And, for me as a guitar player and having to work with like Guy and having to work with Derek and having to work with anybody else who we're jamming with at the particular moment, their feedback means a lot because it makes that more unique to the band at the time.
Exactly. You need feedback from the whole band.
As opposed to me being like a dictator and being like, this is what everybody's playing, and anything that I write, I stress to my guys a lot. I'm like, here, just take the riffs. You come up with something brilliant, send it back to me, come over, show it to me, let's get it together when we're down at rehearsal, whatever it may be. So, and the same thing goes for them. Yeah. They come up with anything, they can bounce it off of me and everybody else in the band as well. But it is getting more difficult because we want to stay as unique as we were back then, but now the scene is so flooded that, you you hear bands doing 280 BPM all day long. It's not a matter of going fast. It's a matter of how the riffs are, how the riffs are structured and how everything is put together. So I tend to spend more time on actually choreographing where the riffs are going and what the feels are now than just making a riff and just having it go.
Right. That's like when I watched y'all's DVD with the CD, the new Pinnacle album, and I remember Frank, talking about it's like, fucking hate you guys, and that was one thing I was gonna say is,
I love that
lyrics.
part of that.
Yeah,
DVD,
dude, it was
it's so
great.
Funny. I was like, you motherfuckers better back me up over here. And that word, it is deflagrate. I'm sorry, but hey, you know what? Listen to Effigy and see how many lyrics are actually on it. You know?
See, that was one thing I noticed too was lyrically, not just musically.
Right.
You guys have, you took from Suffocation, your self-titled, to Blood Oath, and then went to Pinnacle, and it was just. Pinnacle was
there's been so much changes in the way that we write and how we structure things. I mean, and I think a lot of that is like the band, the people in the band actually maturing.
Yeah.
And plus, I have Derek, he helps me write lyrics, Frank writes some lyrics, I write lyrics, so we really try to choreograph everything to everything. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be, because back in the day when you listen to Effigy and you listen to Breeding Spawn, up until Pierce from Within, the band started maturing. So like in Pierce from Within, I'd have to say we were about 17 years old.
Right.
In band sense.
Yeah, in Human Waste, you were like.
We were infants, you know what I mean? So it was like, we learned a lot along the way. It was a lot of trial and error, and back then it wasn't digital the way it is now. It was analog, so you really did have to play all your riffs. So I really kind of forced that issue. Even though I'm good with the digital, I forced the issue like the way it was when you had to learn how to play
Steve
it.
was saying with reel to reel.
Yeah, exactly, reel to reel. That's how we did it. It was like there was no cut and paste. There was no,
play it.
slip and move. There was none of that stuff. All you had to do was play it, and if you had to take something out, you literally had to take a razor blade to the tape and cut it out. Like, literally physically cut it out.
Yeah.
And, now it's just like undo,
Exactly.
Roll this here, roll that there, move this here to another track there. It's too easy now.
And that was going to be my next question is how do you feel, from, starting out, you guys were doing reel to reel, and now it's pretty much all digital. How do you feel, you can hear Human Waste the way it sounds.
Yeah, it was very raw. Well, I mean, I honestly say that the digital revolution is a great thing. It really is. It saves a lot of time and it gives the productions a much more polished sound. So for an engineer who's sitting behind the desk, I think that they really like it. Especially for the editing and the samplings and the triggering and the MIDI and all of that. You know what I mean?
It just makes their job.
It makes their job so much easier as opposed to having a studio filled with a million pieces of outboard gear, and a patch bay that's 400 feet wide, and everybody's changing cables in there, So I think it's okay, but I really do dig the analog sound. I dig the warmth of analog. It has a much better saturation and distortion than digital distortion does, so it's pretty finicky when working with digital to get that actual organic sound like I was talking about before. A lot has to do with microphones too, the ears that are actually listening to it.
There's a lot of little things that play.
When it's coming down to recording, I mean, you can just put a mic on anything and it'll probably sound okay, but it's better if you have somebody who really knows the gear.
Exactly.
And I mean, for digital and for home studio recording, to make it affordable for, any other musician that's out there, digital is the way.
Exactly.
It is.
Now, you were saying earlier that Frank is leaving after this show?
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah,
tomorrow's show? Who's going to be filling in his show?
Actually, we have our buddy Ricky Myers, who is the drummer from California-based band Discord.
Okay.
And it just turns out he sounds so much like Frank that it's
that's awesome.
And in fact, that was Frank's idea, too. Because when Frank heard some of him just doing covers of it, I mean, Ricky's a drummer, we never would have known. We just decided to go with that. He's been working on the material, even when he's out on tour with his band. He's super dedicated, because Frank just doesn't have the time anymore, you guys. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the truth. And, you guys can all want to see him everywhere, but it's just not going to happen.
Everybody's got lives.
Yeah, I mean, when we can get him out on the road, it's up to him. It's not up to us. But our band has the whole world that has to play for us. So unfortunately, we got to do what we got to do, and this is by him, so it's really copacetic amongst everybody in the band.
Chosen.
We're all still great friends, and it's like if there's a time where we're able to get Frank out, for a long period of time to tour, we would do it. So, obviously that leaves our hands tied unless we can go out with somebody who's more permanent fill-in for Frank until Frank decides he wants to fully retire.
Right. It can't be
which is a sad thing, you guys. So, badger him, beat him in the face, tell my old-time friend that he's, he can't retire.
Exactly.
But
right?
you never know.
As long as the new guy can still do the chop. I think that's all everybody cares about.
Well, he'll always be able to do the chop. He'll always be able to do studio recordings with us.
Yeah.
And he will be able to do some shows with us. But it's just not ever, like for us to even go out on the road, we're going for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, if not 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Frank doesn't have more than, maybe 3 weeks a year. He can do any touring.
Yeah.
So we try to split it up amongst all the continents so everybody can get a little piece of Frank when he can. But it's really hard to kind of work that out. You know what I mean? Because it's a matter of time between his job and his career and everything he has to do.
Exactly. Well, it's like when you explained, what was it, I think in the DVDs, like, I got a job, and then I have Suffo too, and it's like, this
and he'll always have that. You guys will always have him that way. It's just, you guys are going to have to roll with the punches because in order to see Suffo, sometimes Frank's not going to be there. And
I look at it
the band does the best that it can do in order to bring the music that we do to you no matter what. Right.
I've always looked at it this way. If you guys ended up choosing the people to replace, certain members,
it's very hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. But I figure if you guys chose them, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There is. Like, all right, we had John Gallagher, who's been a longtime friend of us, fill in. Before that, we had Decrepit Phil from Decrepit Birth, which was Derek's, like him, Matt Sotelo, Tim Young, they literally formed that band.
No shit. Okay.
So to have Bill come out, who's just, he's a real straightforward death metal singer, but he's known the material like his whole life pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's got his own style and way of working things, so it was like, all right, man, it's not going to lose the impact. It's just a matter, we want to help our friends and we want to get people that are really interested. And it's like, we do get some people that are interested. For the most part, I think we've got everything worked out up until this point. It's very hard to do, mind you. Forget it, you guys. But, all beating around the bush, we're just still coming, regardless whether Frank is there or not. Suffocation.
Still kicking ass and taking names, whether you're not. It's just, if Frank's there or not.
I mean, you can't help what happens,
Yeah, it's like with Dave, it's the same.
There was no control on that. With Mike Smith, there was no control on that. There wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these people just said, see you later. And someone with hard feelings, some weren't.
Exactly.
So let's do that.
All right, well, thank you, Terrance.
Anytime, you guys.
You want to say goodbye?
To everybody who's out there, listen to some Suffocation. Come out and support your local bars, your local pubs, your local clubs that are putting on death metal. Spend some money on some T-shirts. Try not to download so much. Even I don't even download music these days. But hey, if you have to just to get some Suffocation, I understand. You know what I mean? Exactly. Anyhow, peace and metal to you all. Hope to see you out here on this tour. Carnival of Death, Cataclysm, Suffocation, Pyrexia, Internal Bleeding, Jungle Rot. We're bringing it to your town. I hope to see you out there.
Thank you.
Anytime.